Lizzie. I don't ever smoke the dizzy, but we can always share some ditsies. It's just a cup in time. This song doesn't have to rhyme. Life's all of us, not every moment we can be feeling fine. I wanna share a moment, just a second if you will, maybe even a cup of thrill. We could share this performance. It's tea time, come sit with me.
Oh, look at that. We got some glitches again. Streaming, I swear to God, you guys are going to hear from Miss Liz. Thank you guys for joining in. I always love when I see my guests in the background dancing away and enjoying that intro. That intro was written by my son, so I really just enjoy it. It's a little touch that he gave to his mommy because he knows his mommy doesn't smoke the dizzy. But, you know, I do have some little ditties that we can share with everyone out there. Today, I have Mr. J in the house. We're going to talk about betrayal, trauma, and all of that good stuff. And his tea today is helping others help themselves. Hear from betrayal. Interesting, impactful, and introspective. That is the tea we are serving in the house today. But before we get started, we got to get over to all those platforms, guys. We got to get over to Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, Spotify, all the podcast apps as well. Spotify, Podbean, Listen Notes, iHeartRadio, and check out babyboomers.org because Miss Liz is partnered with them, and you can find some incredible other podcasts out there if you'd like to be on other shows as well. So get over to babyboomers.org. But let's get started with disclaimer and then a beautiful intro, and then we're going to get Mr. J in here, and we're going to spill his tea and have some fun today with all of you guys. Disclaimer for Miss Liz's Tea Time live show. Miss Liz's Tea Time is a global platform dedicating to sharing real-life stories, diverse perspectives, and meaningful conversations that inspire awareness, healing, and connection. I'm Miss Liz is going live using StreamYard. Before leaving a comment during the live broadcast, please grant StreamYard permission to display your name at StreamYard.com. Please be advised that all the content brought forward during any Tea Time show is presented in good faith. However, discussions may include opinions, beliefs, and perspectives that do not necessarily represent the views of Miss Liz or the Tea Time platform. Information shared by guests is based on their own experiences and is perceived to be accurate at the given time of airing. All guests, viewers, and participants are responsible for using their own good judgment when considering any action or decision that may relate to these discussions. Some episodes may cover sensitive topics, including but not limited to trauma, abuse, grief, mental health, and other emotionally triggering subjects. Listeners' and viewers' discretion is strongly advised. Tea Time with Miss Liz is an open discussion forum designed to offer insight, inspire awareness, and create connection. It is not a substitute for professional, medical, legal, or therapeutical advice. If you require professional support, please seek assistance from qualified professionals or trusted resources in your area. If you have any questions regarding this disclaimer or the content of the discussion, you are welcome to contact me, aka Miss Liz, directly on my email at bookingmissliz@gmail.com or visit my link tree at Miss Liz's Tea Time. By choosing to participate in, comment on, or view these live shows, you acknowledge and accept this disclaimer. Your participation is entirely voluntary. I, Miss Liz, welcomes you to join the conversation with an open heart, and if at any time you feel this platform is not right for you, I respect your wishes and decision and welcome you back whenever you are ready. Tea Time with Miss Liz is serving truth and awareness one cup at a time. Well, welcome to Tea Time with Miss Liz, where truth meets healing and conversation reminds us that even our hardest chapters can become part of our greatest transformation. Today's guest brings us a deeply honest and compassionate conversation about betrayal, trust, emotional healing, and finding your way back to yourself after life changes everything. Please join me in welcoming Mr. J, Betrayal Trauma Practitioner, Interpersonal Relationship Coach, author, speaker, educator, and U.S. military veteran. Through his work and his journey from tears to transformation, Mr. J helps individuals and couples move through emotional pain, betrayal trauma, triggers, and the difficult process of rebuilding trust, not only with others, but within themselves. His message is powerful. Healing does not mean pretending the pain never happened. It means learning how to grow through it without losing yourself. Today's Tea Time is about healing after betrayal, emotional triggers, and self-awareness, rebuilding trust and communication, the courage to face pain honestly, and turning tears into transformation. Mr. J reminds us that broken moments do not define our worth. They reveal where healing is still asking to happen. So grab your cup and join us for a heartfelt conversation filled with reflection, resilience, and real life tea, truth, experience, and awareness. And let me get Mr. J in here and let's spill some tea. Welcome, Mr. J.
Hello, Miss Liz. It's great to be here, and thank you for having me on your show.
It's a pleasure to have you here. This is a topic I have not had on Tea Time yet. I've had all of the other types of coaching and that, but I have not had betrayal coaching on Tea Time. So thank you for coming on Tea Time.
My pleasure. It's a fascinating field. It's an emotional field. It's a sad field at times. It's a horrific field for many, especially going through it. But for me, it's fascinating. It's ever growing. We are still researching a lot of various on the spectrum of all different types of the reasons why this affects different people differently. And certainly betrayal trauma, which we can get into, is different from other types of trauma, which is why you have to be very careful when you're speaking to a professional that they be betrayal trauma informed or betrayal trauma trained. Because if not, you can wind up with a lot of clients, which some of mine come to me because of T trauma. So it's not only from the trauma they've experienced or the betrayal in their family or friends or significant others or intimate relationships, but also from their own therapists who were not necessarily betrayal trauma trained or informed.
Oh, interesting. Well, Jay, before we get into the betrayal trauma, let's get to know you a little bit before we get into all of that stuff and what got you into this. So who was Jay as a little guy and who is Jay now?
So, well, I was a middle child. I am a middle child. So I have all those little middle child syndromes going on. And I spent my younger years doing a lot of theater. I grew up and I became a teacher, public educator, specializing in special education. And I taught for almost 2 decades. And then when my children were born, I wanted to stay home and spend more time raising them. So that's what I did. And I was a happy stay-at-home dad. I loved it. It was fulfilling to me. It was my purpose at the time. And then one day I was talking with my father, who I was very close to, and we were laughing on the phone and telling jokes. And he abruptly passed away. And literally 4 days later, we were lowering his casket into the ground. And I think that shock was too overwhelming for my system. And what wound up happening was I woke up like 3 days after his funeral with my first ever panic attack. Now, I've heard of panic attacks. I've talked about panic attacks. I've worked with clients with panic attacks. But boy, there's no substitute for experience. And so I actually woke up at like 3 o'clock in the morning and I smelled smoke. I smelled smoke and fire. And I got up and I'm going all around my house to try to find the origin of where this smoke and fire is. I have 2 young kids. I'm going in my kitchen and I'm going in my living room and I'm going in the hallway and I'm opening up the door to see if my neighbor is having a bonfire. Try as I may, I could not find any origin of smoke and fire whatsoever. So after I was like, okay, well, this is weird. I smell it, but the house isn't in danger. There's no alarms going off. We're good. So I go to put my head back on the pillow. And instantly I was taken back to when I was 6.5 years old. And I was standing up next to my mother while she was screaming blood curdling screams because we came home after a vacation. And the only thing that was in our driveway was our chimney because our house burned down. So the unhealed trauma of my childhood from the olfactory gland perspective, my trauma was coming up as remembering the smoke smell. Anyways, I went on this long journey of trying to understand this trauma and what my body was going through. And one thing led to another thing. And I always say I never pursued this field. This field pursued me because it led me into the fascinating field of betrayal trauma. And I was in this group, and what was meant to be helping me, I was actually helping a lot of people. And so the CEO at one point reached out to the founder, reached out to me and said, I've noticed you've been helping a lot of people and you're really good at helping people. Would you want to go through the process of becoming certified to become a betrayal trauma practitioner and actually work with people from a professional standpoint? And I said, sure. So I went through the process of getting certified. And now that's pretty much 98% of all my clients now are working with, I'm on the journey from, breakdown to breakthrough, from tears to transformation, from grief to growth, you name it. Because again, betrayal trauma is something that's relatively new concept in the mental health field. And when I say new, I mean, 20, 30, 40 years, but still that's relatively new because we're still doing data, still doing research. The research is coming out every day, new studies. So it's a fascinating field, but it's one that's misunderstood still, and one that there are far too little professionals that deal with this type of betrayal trauma.
Well, Mr. J, that's usually the way it is, right? Everything pursues us, right? We think we're supposed to grow up and have this job and that field, and then all of a sudden we get the surprise that no, that's not where we need to go. We have to go down this route. It finds us. We don't find it, right?
Yeah, which is why I say a lot of times life is 10% of what's handed to you and 90% how you respond to it and handle it. Which is why, at the beginning, I'm a betrayal trauma practitioner and intrapersonal relationship coach. And what an intrapersonal relationship professional is somebody that I work with people with the relationship they have with themselves. Because I always say the relationship you have with yourselves sets the tone and standard for all other relationships around you. Which, by the way, the relationship you have with yourself can also help or hinder your healing journey after broken trust and betrayal. Because think about it, betrayal, especially, well, I don't want to go on a long tangent or digress if you're not ready to go there, but I just want to say something quickly. First of all, betrayal trauma can happen in a few different forms. Number one, in order for betrayal trauma to occur, there has to be a reliance upon or a dependency upon. So, like, for instance, you and I can watch a car accident. One of us could be traumatized, the other one not traumatized, whatever. But we didn't rely on that accident. We didn't depend on that accident. However, so for instance, you can have betrayal trauma from a boss or your job because you rely on your boss, you rely on your job. You can have betrayal trauma from a parent because you depend on your parent. You can have betrayal trauma, say from, either, God or your creator, even yourself. Because I talked to, a couple of women who are like, Mr. J, I did my exercises and I drank my shakes and I did my meditations and I was still diagnosed with breast cancer. I feel like my God, my creator betrayed me, or even my body betrayed me. And then certainly, which is probably the majority of my clients, is a betrayal within a relationship. So such as infidelity, affairs, sexual addiction, things like that. But the more we are in tune and in touch with ourselves before any of this, usually the easier, and I use that term very cautiously because nothing is easy about this, the more grasp you have at healing on this journey, because you know yourself. Because when we are with somebody, especially in an intimate relationship, we co-create with them. So basically, if you were to take a white rose and you were to cut the stem in 3, and then you put one portion of that stem in, food coloring that's red, and then one that's food coloring that's green, and one that's blue, the entire petals are going to change colors. The entire rose is going to completely change colors. And that's the same thing with a relationship. We have roots with the person that we're with, which, side note, which is why sometimes even people's pets start looking like their owners, but that's a whole nother topic. Because we co-create with people. So when there's a fracture in that relationship, there's a fracture to our identity, and it hits us at our core. So, so this is why trauma is different from betrayal trauma. Non-betrayal trauma is very different from betrayal trauma for various reasons, which we'll go into if we have time.
Yeah, we're gonna get into it really deep, Mr. J. We have a couple questions that are coming in. I'd like to get those out to you that are coming into the studio. The first one that came in is from Bob. What inspired Mr. J to help others through healing journeys?
Well, you know what? Listen, I think having been raised in a very challenging environment, there's a lot of lessons that I learned, because I say all the time, there is far more that you see from rock bottom than you do from mountaintops. We all want to look, be on the mountaintop, and that's wonderful there, but the lessons are not there. The lessons are when you hit rock bottom. And I was born and raised and marinated in rock bottom, so I got a lot of lessons, and I just didn't want to die and take those lessons to the ground. I figured if I could share some of the things that I've learned, I can spare some people a lot of the pain that I've endured. So, yes, do I have a lot of knowledge? Not patting myself on the back, absolutely, but it's wisdom born from pain, and that's awesome. Listen, there's no better education than a degree from the School of Hard Knocks, and I appreciate that now, because it helps. And I'll tell you something, when I'm working with clients, not that any mental health professional at any time should ever work through their issues through their clients, but I will say, by virtue of me helping my clients, I'm also helping myself and helping heal me too. So it's a win-win.
Absolutely. When you hit rock bottom, then you actually see who's beside you and who's not beside you. And sometimes that's where the betrayal is as well, right at the rock bottom.
Absolutely. Because I'll tell you something, a lot of times when I'm working with adults, and they'll tell me things that happened in their childhood, and I'll say, well, who did you tell? And they'll say, no one at all. And I'll say, but you know what? That's your first trauma right there, is you didn't feel safe in your environment. So if something happened to you, like you were violated or in some way, that was your second trauma. Your first trauma is you didn't feel safe in your environment. And I don't want to get into some big long thing, but a lot of perpetrators can sniff out somebody that doesn't have a strong support system better than anyone. And so that was the first trauma. And again, I digress, but it's important to know that our first trauma, a lot of times people are, you traumatized me, or you were did this to me, or whatever. And I'm like, absolutely, there's the trauma at hand here. But I always tell people, especially even with betrayal trauma, which is infidelity, affairs, broken trust in relationships, in my opinion, you're not going to find this in any research or study or data, but in my opinion, what happened, the occurrence is about 40% of the trauma that we're dealing with now. 60% is the unhealed trauma from yesteryear that we never healed. And what this trauma did was tap into, break open, and expose that sleeping giant that we never healed. And that's the source of the biggest pain.
Wow. I'm really glad that you're here, because this is a topic that a lot of people don't talk about, right? Because they don't feel comfortable. It makes them uncomfortable. And then they're like, nope, don't want to talk about it.
Oh, listen. Oh my gosh. We are the kings and queens of avoidance. Nobody wants to run towards the fire for pain, including me. But I'll tell you something. It's like one of the things, and I tell people all the time, especially that I work with, number one, I feel bad. I tell people all the time, listen, if you want to work with me, I'm not one of these mental health professionals that are like, oh, I'm so sorry your experience. Let's hold some space for you to be. I ain't got time for that. I'm sorry. And no judgment to anybody that works like that. That's no. I am like a personal trainer at the gym. If you come to me and you say you want a 6-pack, I'm not going to say, good job with a Twinkie. I'm going to say, get your butt in here. This is what we got to do to get you a 6-pack. And I don't care if you're screaming and moaning like you're 9 months pregnant. I'm doing my job to hold you accountable, because I want you to get what you want, and that's your 6-pack. So let's start doing some crunches. So when people come to me, and I'm not for everyone. Don't come to me if somebody needs, a lot of accolades and acknowledgement and validation, and let's hold a space for that. No, we got work to do. Now, I'll give you some of that stuff. Of course, I'm not a monster. Because especially this is a very sensitive topic. I mean, I'm going to tell you something, Miss Liz. I have people that have had miscarriages after they found out about betrayal. There's myocardial myopathy, or whatever the term is, broken heart syndrome. There's people that have went to prisons and jail for doing things to their partner if they found out their partner was being unfaithful. I talked to people that just got out of programs because they went mentally insane after they found out that their spouse was cheating on them. So don't get me wrong. I don't take this lightly. I'm not a hard butt. However, bottom line is I'm somebody that's like, listen, we're trying to build a bridge right now. Get out your hammers and your nails and let's start building that bridge. Let's not do all this, oh, that must make you feel awful. Maybe once in a blue moon, but we got work to do. I mean, and you're paying me. I don't want to waste your time. I want to help you feel.
I'm the same way, right? I don't got time for sugarcoating anything, right? Hard truth. It is what it is. Come to the table or don't come to the table. But I'm not for everyone. And I think we need to be honest with people that we're working with and say, you know what? I might not be the table that you want to sit at. I might not be the therapist that you want to come to. Let's save each other some time. If you want to be sugar-coated and a little pat on the back to tell you that you're doing a good job, there's other people that will do that. And same as with the podcasting world, right? There's other tables that you can go and sit at to do that. I prefer the real raw tables and conversations. We have some other questions that are coming in for you, Mr. J, that I'd like to get out to you. And then I got some questions for you as well. How do you rebuild trust after being deeply hurt?
Okay, well, that's a $10,000 question. So I want to break it down into maybe a $1,000 question, okay?
We already talked about breaking down the lotto pot.
First of all, let me just say this. Trust is built in droplets and broken in faucets. I mean, I'm on social media and I upload, various videos to social media. And one of them is I had a balloon on my faucet and I turned the water on very slowly and I let it sit there and sit there and sit there. And I let the balloon, it was a while. I said, this is how you build trust. And it takes a long time. And then I took a sharp knife and I sliced that balloon with the quickness and it just came out like this. I said, this is how trust is broken. And so to rebuild trust, it's going to be brick by brick by brick, which we'll get into more, when we later on, because I want to get into more specifics. But here's the deal. When you're rebuilding trust brick by brick and somebody makes a decision that jeopardizes that, they just don't take away a brick. They take off the entire wall that those bricks were building. So if we have time, I'll get more into this. But let me just say this, Miss Liz. One of the things that we have to do is we cannot put our trust in the potential decisions of some tall, broken child. And I'm sorry, that's all we are. We cannot put our trust in the potential future decisions of some tall, broken child. We first have to put our trust in ourselves. Now, a lot of people listening to this, whether now or in the future, might be saying, well, wait a minute, I don't even know if I know who I am. I don't know if I trust who I am. That's all great, fine, and dandy. Then what you need to do is you need to, first and foremost, one of the things I have my clients do is you need to define what forgiveness is. You need to define what forgiveness is. And don't use the term to let go or to forgive. And if you use those terms to let go or forgive, then explain to me how you're going to let go or forgive. Once you have that definition, then you turn it around and you give it to yourself. Because I'm going to tell you something. A lot of the trauma that we have today is because of the lies that we told ourselves or that we believed that from somebody else telling ourselves. So we have to forgive ourselves for all those lies that we were told. And I'm going to give you a corny little example. Let's just say you came home from school and you wanted to tell your mother something, you were excited, but she was baking, or let's just say she was drinking, she was whatever she was, and you go to tell her something, or your dad, doesn't matter, and he or she kind of whisks you away. I don't have time for this right now. Oh my God, I'm in the middle of something. Stop. Well, what message did you tell yourself? I'm an inconvenience. I'm a nuisance. I always get in the way. And here's the deal. Somebody tells us something once, then we loop it and repeat it forever and ever and ever. Because I always say, Miss Liz, other people give us pain. We give ourselves suffering. So now for years and years and years and decades and decades and decades, we told ourselves we're a nuisance, we're a pain, we're insignificant, we're this, we're this, we're this. Well, then all of a sudden we're adults. And what do? Hey, this is just who I am. No, it's not who you are. It's the costume you put on when you were younger to protect yourself that you never were able to take off because you didn't do the hard work. And so now you get into relationships with a confirmation bias, looking for people to tell you you're an inconvenience, you're a nuisance, you're a pain in the butt. Because why? We all have these little roommates in our head that lied to us from the beginning that want a confirmation bias. And the minute we find a confirmation bias, oh, you're unlovable, you're unworthy, you're ugly, you're that. Yes, I knew it. I knew it. Your confirmation bias. So we have to really start eradicating those lies that we believed when we were younger. And we got to do that by giving ourselves self-forgiveness. Really quickly, if you don't mind, Miss Liz, I just want to say something very quickly. Betrayal trauma is like this, okay? Betrayal trauma, I want you to imagine there is a very thin, long, narrow bridge a mile above ground, okay? And under this long, narrow, mile-long bridge, so it's a mile above ground and a mile long, underneath it is an active volcano and fires, forest fires, like horrific fires. And I'm talking fires where the smoke is so thick, it's blinding. And I'm talking lava that's shooting up to where the soles of your sneakers are melting, okay? And you're on this bridge and you have in both your hands two of the things that are most important to you. Let's just say one is your child and one is your parent. Let's just say both of your puppies. Let's just say two of your children. You're on this bridge and you have to walk across this bridge to safety to the other side, okay? Now, you can't walk at times because you're scared you're going to fall off, because if you fall off that bridge, it's imminent death. But you got the two things that are most important to you in life, your two children, your two dogs, your parents, it doesn't matter. And you're trying to walk across this bridge and the smoke is so thick that it's tearing your eyes. So you have to close your eyes. And so the only thing you can do is try to put your hand on the person in front of you to lead the way. And this person in front of you, you trust more than yourself. This is the person who's going to guide you to safety. And so you're walking and you're afraid and your heart is beating and you got two little children or puppies looking up to you because you're their safety. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, the bridge collapses and you start falling and you're holding on to the two things that mean the most to you. And you look down and you see the eye of the volcano and lava coming out and fire. And you look up and you see the person you trusted the most with your life. They have a hammer. They're the ones that made the bridge collapse. So now you're like, wait a minute, your mind is hijacked and you got two of these one little puppies or kids looking at you like, what are we going to do? You're looking around for something to catch on to. There's nothing to catch on to. And you fall and you die emotionally, mentally, spiritually, physically, in every way except physically. You don't die. That's where you get up and start walking. And then that's where I come in. And I try to say, okay, what do we do? So, and which I'm going to give you some good news after that bad news. 3/4 of the couples that come to me do wind up working and staying together, not just surviving, thriving, having better relationships from before. But I'm going to tell you something. That is a journey. That is a journey, because the person you loved and trusted, even more than you trusted yourself, broke you in the most horrific, shattering, decimating, devastating, damaging way. How in the world are you going to trust them again? So it's a journey, but studies, research, stats, and my own personal work with my clients does show about 75% of couples do wind up staying together and actually doing much better, having a much better relationship than they did before.
Well, and that goes into the question that just came in for you, Mr. J, is how can couples heal together after betrayal?
Okay. Well, again, another $10 million question.
First, we're bringing the lottery up today.
I know. I didn't. Yeah. Maybe I should play tonight. One of the things so I told you I was a special education teacher before I went into this field. And in special education, what you have is what's called an IEP, which is an individualized education plan or an individualized education protocol. And that's because every student learns differently. So you want to conform or really work with the student's way of learning. One of the things that I did when I went into this field is I created my own what's called individualized healing plan. Because listen, everybody's uniquely different and everybody's going to heal differently depending on their needs. And I'm talking about needs from where are you on the hierarchy of are you a first child? Are you a last child? Are you a middle child? Because you have a different view. You view the world through a different lens depending on that. Are you right-handed, left-handed? Are you a male or a female? Are you black, white, or straight, gay? Like all these things that you look at the world a little differently. What is your attachment style? What is your love language? I mean, like I give people, I want to know uniquely, how are you going to handle this healing journey and what is best for you? Now we also have to go into a little bit of childhood, because I'm telling you something, if you have a profound amount of unhealed childhood trauma, there's no reason to start healing between the coupleship, because what you're doing is, you ever drive down the road? I don't know about you, but I live in New York and we got some potholes that you can go swimming in. So what happens if people don't heal their childhood issues, then it's a waste of time to heal their relationship issue, because it's like putting cement over a pothole before filling it first. So you got to go back, as Rose said, you got to go back to Titanic. You got to go back to your childhood, start healing some of that, because I'm telling you something, betrayal hits us at our core insecurities. And a lot of the times, and I'm all over the board with this, so I apologize, Miss Liz, but a lot of times,
Actually, you're good.
A lot of times you can actually find somebody's core insecurities just by when you're in session with them. Because I'll be on session. Let's just, for this podcast, let's just say I'm working with a male-female couple, and let's just say the male stepped out. We might be sitting there in session, and the female might look at her spouse, partner, significant other, and say, how could you do this to me? Am I that unworthy to you? Well, she has a core insecurity of feeling unworthy. Or the next person could be like, how could you do this to me? Am I that ugly? Am I that insignificant? Am I that, whatever? And so that helps me understand, okay, this is a core wound that we need to go and do a little bit of psychological surgery on before we even talk about repair in the relationship. Now, having said that, I want to answer another question. I'm not a big subscriber. This is my own personal belief. I'm not a big subscriber in people doing their own individual healing. Initially, do I think it's needed? Yes. But I'm telling you something from my own experience, and I know I'm probably going to lose a lot of people by saying this. My experience is, when people try to heal a fractured marriage by going to their own separate therapists, they wind up going down their own separate paths and going their own way and winding up disconnecting and divorcing. I think it's critical and crucial that both parties talk to somebody together. Now, if you want to talk to somebody differently, your own person, great, fine and dandy, but you need to talk to somebody together. You cannot heal something that fractured the relationship so significantly on your own. On top of that, everything that you're going through, whether you are the betrayer or the betrayed, everything you're going through, the other party needs to hear it. For example, I always say a fair start in childhood. What does that mean? That means that people that step out of relationships have their own pain, their own wounds, their own lack of coping mechanisms. And the person that was betrayed needs to hear all of that so they understand context. Now, the person that was devastated, shattered, decimated by this broken trust, they need to speak their mind, and the person that hurt them needs to hear what they have to say. So I'm a big proponent of, we need to come into the session together and we need to hear what each other is working on. If you want to do your own separate thing, including this, that's up to you. But I'm telling you something, my own experience and even some studies show, when people try to talk to different people, different professionals, because think about it, we all have our interpretation of the world, and we share our interpretation with our mental health professional. And mental health professionals, all we are is a lot of times computers. You feed us data, we spit out something. If all we're hearing is your perspective, we can only spit out what's going to help you. That's not necessarily going to help your relationship. And if you want to rebuild and repair, then we're doing more harm than we are hurt. Now, that's not to say that two people can't come to me and say, Mr. J, we want to work things out. And then through the process of normal organic evolution, it comes out you can't stay together. Then we work on that. Fine, great, and dandy. Or a lot of times people come to me Actually, these are some of my favorite stories, and I'm going all over the board, so please interrupt me when you need to.
No. You're good. Go.
One of the things that I absolutely love, and this happened about a handful of times, and I always enjoy these thoroughly, is when people come to me and say, Mr. J, there was some betrayal in our marriage. There was some infidelity. There was some broken trust, some cheating, and we're coming to you to help us on what is the best civil way that we can part ways. We have kids, we have property. We're coming to you. What is the best amicable way we can part ways? And then 8 months later, 12 months later, I'm getting pictures of them from Hawaii for renewing their wedding vows, saying, if it wasn't for you, we wouldn't be here. So we don't know what's going to happen organically. This is why the healing journey is so complex. And listen, we're dealing with people. People are nuanced and complex. We don't know what's going to happen, where we're going to go. But that's why it's important to get into some mental health profession as soon as possible. Somebody that's trauma informed, betrayal trauma trained, somebody that you can vibe with. I can't vibe with everybody. Some people want to come to me and they want me to rockabye baby. That's not me, but get into and trust, just like a fitness guru or a personal trainer. Trust the gym trainer that he or she knows what they're doing. That's going to bring you to the other side.
Well, Mr. J, I want to bring this question out to you because I want to talk about this. How can someone recognize emotional triggers in relationships? Because there are warning signs in that as well, right?
Well, yes or no. And I'm going to tell you what. There's a good majority of people afterwards that will say, ooh, I knew something. Hindsight, I knew something. I knew something, but I didn't say something, whatever. However, there is something called betrayal blindness. And betrayal blindness it's a part of our nervous system. It's the fight, flight, freeze. Actually, in my opinion, I think there's a lot of F's. There's the fight, flight, freeze, fawn, F it. There's a lot of F's when it comes to this kind of healing. But anyways, betrayal blindness is a part of our biological makeup, and it's meant to keep us safe. So basically what happens is, and I'll give you just in layman's terms, do you remember like who was it? Little Red Riding Hood. She wanted to go see her grandmother in the forest. And so she baked all these cookies and, she knew there was a scary wolf in the forest, but she didn't care. She had blinders on. She wants to see her grandmother. So she goes to the scary forest and she knocks on the door of her grandmother, but usually she hears, come in, dear, or who is it? Or what? She didn't hear anything. Something in her body told her, ooh, something's a little off, but betrayal blindness kicked in and she ignored it because she wants to see her grandmother. So she opens up the door. Grandma, are you here? Grandma, are you here? She doesn't get an answer. Man, something in her body is saying something's off. Betrayal blindness kicks in. Oh, she's probably busy. She's downstairs doing laundry. She's in the back probably pickling something, blah, 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 canning, whatever. So Little Red Riding Hood goes into the back bedroom. She knows something's up. She says, Grandma, why do you have a long jaw, sharp teeth, beady eyes? I mean, come on. She winds up getting eaten. Why? Because she didn't trust her intuition. But you can't blame her because betrayal trauma kicked in. So what happens is that after a while, so here's what happens, Miss Liz. If another example of betrayal trauma, let's just say we're riding down the street and we see our spouse, partner, significant other in a coffee shop with their boss. Immediately, what do we think? Oh, my spouse is so nice. He knows his secretary is having a rough time in her marriage, so he's probably counseling her. Oh, I won such a trophy with him. Or all of a sudden we find blonde hair in our car when we're with a redhead. We're like, oh, my girlfriend or my wife or my spouse or whomever gave her coworker a ride home. She's so nice. She's so living. We give people, we excuse it away. And this is why. Because the amount of reconstruction and reconfiguration that would have to happen in our lives if we were to accept the truth would be so profound, we excuse it away. So for instance, if we were to say, okay, wait a minute, there's blonde hair in my car, or there's lip gloss in my glove compartment and I don't have lip gloss. What we do is, well, wait a minute, if I confront my spouse, oh my God, we're going to have this big blow up. Then I'm going to have to move. And then what's going to happen to me financially? And then our kids are going to have to visit their parents every other weekend. And then it's going to be so embarrassing because we just got married and our friends are going to be like, I can't even keep a mate. You know what? So, and this all happens subconsciously. Oh, so let me just pretend this isn't happening. My spouse is so good because he gave his coworker a ride home. that, you know, but here's the deal. Because betrayal blindness separates ourselves from us leaning into our intuition, what happens is now when the rubber hits the road and the reality sets in and we discover there is a betrayal in our relationship, we've separated ourselves from ourselves so much that we don't even know who we are anymore to help heal the fractured, broken relationship. And this is where we start to hear, I'm such a fool. I'm such an idiot. How could I be so stupid? And if anybody's listening now or in the future, never tell that to yourself. Your body was doing what it does naturally. You weren't stupid. Betrayal blindness kicked in and you just did what your body didn't match. It's almost like if I tell you a joke and you laugh, why would I say, why are you so stupid laughing? No, your body's doing what naturally came natural. You're laughing, you know? So no, you're not a fool. You're not stupid. You're not blind. You're not foolish. Your body did what it was naturally.
Absolutely. Well, Mr. Day, I want to bring up the journal that you sent me. Let's talk about that a little bit. And then we have a question about journaling. So my journal from tears to transformation. Is this a workbook? What is this book about?
So basically, one of the things that I've learned while working with clients and couples and individuals is that give or take, depends on the person, it takes about roughly 90 days just for them to get their nose above water where they say, okay, I'm not in fear of drowning anymore. I don't know if I can make it to land. I don't know if my life's going to be successful. I have no idea what my future is going to be, but I'm not struggling for my nostrils to stay above water. So that's about the 3-month, 90-day time frame. So I decided I'm going to create a journal where it has prompts. Every day it has prompts in it that helps you to move forward. Because a lot of times people are like, well, I don't journal because I don't even know what to write. Well, this helps you. Every day this asks you a question. Can you name 3 things today that brought you joy, give you meaning? What are you going to do to celebrate your day, celebrate your life? Can you name one thing you're thankful for today? So these are questions. I took a course at UC Berkeley on the science of happiness. And so I use a lot of that content in my coaching, in my practice to really help people reverse or better integrate some of the statements and the missions and the thoughts that we need to really just start moving forward because I'm going to tell you something, Miss Liz, I'm not big on the term healing. And I know I probably would offend a lot of people. I'm big on integrating, because a lot of the time, the quote healing that happens after betrayal, the reason why people get so stuck is because betrayal also accompanies profound grief. And I don't know about you, but we never get over people that we lose, especially when we're close to them. However, we learn how to integrate the grief and we learn how to manage it over time better so it doesn't manage us.
Well, and it goes into the question that about your book is from Lucy, is how does journaling help with emotional healing and growth? Because a lot of people don't understand journaling.
Yeah, well, a couple of things. First of all, one of the things that happens when we're betrayed is, and I'm going to try not to derail too much, but in our hippocampus, it's like a filing cabinet, right? So, and it's a long filing cabinet, and in there's all of our files, all of our important files, all of our day-to-day files. It's like, okay, so we know, okay, I got married in 1981. My first child came in 1983. Every Tuesday we eat Taco Tuesday. Next Sunday, I got to bring my kids fishing. And the reason why this filing cabinet is important is because predictability keeps us safe. If you don't know what's in your future, then you're unsafe. Predictability keeps us safe. Well, when we find out there's a betrayal in our relationship, that, I'm sorry to be unprofessional, F's the crap out of our predictability, because what in the world, we thought we could be predictable. So basically what happens is our spouse takes this long filing cabinet, walks up a big tall mountain on a windy day and dumps all the files over. And now the files are going all over. And so you're trying to pick up these files and put them back into strategic places in the filing cabinet. And your mind is hijacked. And now you're thinking, well, wait, first of all, is this file real? Was everything we went through real? And number 2, well, wait a minute. Did this come before this? Because your mind is hijacked. wait a minute. When we were on vacation at Disney and he told me he had a meeting, he had to step out of the room. Did he have a meeting, or was he talking to his affair partner? Oh, when she told me she was having lunch with her best friend, was it, or was it actually the gym fitness person or whatever? So, okay. So here's the deal. So a tremendous amount of anxiety comes on us after D-Day, after broken trust. D-Day is disclosure day. So to this person's question, one of the things journaling does is it gets all of this information and anxiety that's up here on paper, which helps profoundly. The other thing that it does is one of the things I have my clients, I recommend, is when you're journaling, we all have filters. We all have filters. Like, for instance, when you, and we've learned these filters when we were younger. If I wanted certain things, I know what parent to go up to get it. If I wanted to go to my friend's house, I knew what parent would probably more allow me to go to friends. I would ask that parent. If I wanted a few dollars, I knew what parent to go up to. Those are all of our filters. And we all have filters when we go out in society. Every time we go to the grocery store and the clerk is like, or cashier is, did you find everything? Like, yeah, I did find everything. How are you? All this smile or whatever. We all have filters. When you write with your non-dominant hand, it takes those filters down. And now all of those real and raw expressions, thoughts, feelings, and emotions are on paper. That's helping flush out the emotional aspect of things. So there's a lot of benefits to journaling, not to mention it slows our thinking down. And a lot of this, because after broken trust, our brain now has a Corvette motor with bicycle brakes. And what journaling does is it really slows our brain down and helps us process things. So there's a lot of benefits to journaling. And if people don't ever buy my journal, which I could care less if they do, write on a sheet of paper your thoughts, because you need to slow your thinking down, and writing things down helps it. And even if you say, I don't know what to write one thing that happened today that was triggering for you or not good, and write one thing that is. And it could be simple as, today sucked because I can't stand my spouse. Wonderful. Today was good because my son gave me a hug. Whatever. That could be a journal. Which, by the way, side note, once in a while, and I know probably some people are not going to appreciate my humor, but once in a while, I've been married going on 25 years. Once in a while, I'll pick up a fork and I'll look at my spouse through the fork. And I'm like, you know what? No, I don't want to see this for the rest of my life behind bars. I'm just going to take a time out and go walk away. Besides that, Miss Liz, I don't look good in orange.
Well, orange is not your favorite color anyway. Yellow is.
That is very true. It is. But no, if you look at somebody through a fork, it's like, oh, this is what they'd be looking like behind bars. Yeah, no, let me just go take a time out.
And sometimes that's what we need to do, right? Is just go and take a time out. We don't need to take a break, just a time out.
Yes. Yeah, in many capacities. Now, since I brought that up and you followed up on it, let me just say this. When a couple is talking, and this could be in anything, any marriage, any relationship, when a couple is talking, I always recommend they have what's called a safe word. I don't care what that safe word is. It could be any word. But what happens is, listen, Miss Liz, we're all adults, and we know we all have a little trigger inside of us. We come to the discussion table relatively calm, cool, and collected, but it takes no time at all, especially with our spouses. Well, all of a sudden there's a trigger and that goes off in us, and all of a sudden it's like, okay, biatch, it's on. Let's go. What I recommend people to do is right before that switch is about to go off, you say the safe word and you take a time out, because you don't want to say something that now you're going to need more healing afterwards that you said. But here's the deal. And the reason I just brought this topic up is because, you brought up the topic of taking a time out. One of the things I recommend to my clients is that when you do use the safe word, whatever you do, if you're going to walk away and go in the living room, or if you're going to go for a ride, tell your partner, your spouse, your significant other, your intention, because if they have a background of neglect or abandonment, now you've just triggered that by leaving the argument. So what you want to say is, let's just say the safe word is Miss Liz, right? What you want to say is, okay, Miss Liz, I'm going to go in the living room. I'm going to go pray. I'm going to read for 2 hours. Then I'll come back and we can maybe retable this conversation. That way, nobody's leaving. If you have issues with abandonment or neglect, somebody's not leaving you. Nobody's abandoning you. Nobody's neglecting you. They're taking a timeout because they love you and they want to calm down. Then they're going to come back. And of course, the person that takes the timeout has to make sure they circle back and retable that discussion. Don't just come back and say, hey, what do you want for dinner? And pretend nothing ever happened. Whatever.
Or do those TikTok videos where they just slam the food down and the husbands are like, oh, should I eat it?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
I really like that you're bringing it to the table, that we work together, like working with counselors together, because when you're going to a separate therapist, you're already deciding before you even get to the therapist's office that you've already divided each other. I like that you said, bring it together, do it together, because that's the whole reason why people are falling apart is because they're already starting to divide and separate from each other. So if you're going to separate therapists, you're actually just including more distance.
Absolutely. And listen, if there's people watching this now or in the future that's like, well, I'm not going to talk to him or her, or I don't want to do that. My thing is this: do your best to talk to somebody together, even if that means you want to separate. If you still want to talk to your own mental health professional, fine, great, and dandy. But I would highly recommend an ROI, and that's a release of information. That way, all three of your mental health professionals are talking to each other. Because there has to be one guiding light. And if that guiding light at the end of the tunnel is reunification or repairing or rebuilding or building something up from scratch, brand new, then there has to be an ultimate goal. It can't just be like, you're talking to your professional, the other person's talking to their professional. Because listen, and I know I'm going to offend a lot of mental health professionals. The school of today is all about, and I'm sorry, pushing out these mental health professionals that are all about, that must make you feel awful. Let's hold wow, you're doing so much. You're not, your loved one is not being fair to you. They're not letting you have a voice. Next thing you know, you think you're the king or the queen of the marriage, and all because your mental health professional is only getting your perspective. So either you go together or you sign an ROI where he or she can talk to everybody. Because if not, it's like a park, garbage in, garbage out. So, they have to, so yeah, absolutely. I think that's critical. But again, let me just say, regardless of where you're going in your relationship, you still need to heal. Whether you're staying together or you're not. And what good is it going to do to go to a therapist who's a yes man or a yes woman? Or, listen, nobody's a celebrity that, hey, does my butt look good in this dress? No, you look perfect. No, you got to give it to people raw sometimes. That's the only way that they're going to heal and become the person that they have a right to be.
Well, and the truth hurts. Like, we have to be honest with the world today, right? I find that today's world is so sugar-coated and everyone is scared of getting a bobo and just putting a Band-Aid on everything. Well, we're not healing anything when we're just putting Band-Aids on. Yeah.
Back in the olden day, Miss Liz, when they used to go cave, whatever they did to find cave mining for gold.
Yeah.
They would, click on the cave, and all of a sudden a big, huge chunk of something would fall, right? And it had a little bit of gold in it, but it was surrounded by dirt and debris and sticks and whatever. And they would put it through this liquid fire. And all of a sudden, all this dirt and debris would come up to the surface, and then they would slide it across, and then more dirt and debris would come up. Yeah, all this filth and yuck and disgust, and then they would move it across. And then before you know it, eventually, just pure gold would rise to the top. This is what happens when I'm working with couples. It's going to burn at times. We're at the gym. It's going to burn you at times, but you're in the process of eventually letting your true, authentic gold come out. Then you can go and present to the world, whether you're in your relationship or not. This is my true, authentic self. And now, I mean, oh my gosh, do you know how many times when I have couples that come to me and they're both like right here, they want to come together. They want to come back together, right? And I'm like, no. What you want to do is you both want to go like this and then come together. raise your standards, elevate who you are, become the whole healthy, healed 2.0 you, then come together as different people in a completely different marriage. I always say the best marriages are the second marriages to the same person.
Oh, that I like that one, Mr. J. Because that's coming back together, right? Well,
No
we got.
mistake.
I really enjoy this conversation because it's real and raw. That's the conversations I like to have, guys. That my audience knows I like the real and raw conversations because there's no sugarcoating anything. Life is hard. We all have a story. We all have trauma. Whether you want to admit it or not, everyone has trauma. It doesn't matter who you are. Everyone has gone through something. And that's the stories I want on Teatime. That's the voice that I want to have. I want to have voices like yours, Mr. J, on Teatime, because I want the truth to come to the table. It's not going to be comfortable. The conversations that we're bringing to the table are not going to be comfortable. But the work and the services and resources that I'm bringing to all of the listeners out there, like yourself, is we can work together. We can do this together, but we got to stop sugarcoating everything. We got to work together and hear some hard truths sometimes.
Yeah.
Mr. J, for your own experience, we had a question here that came in, and I want to get that out to you. Is what was the biggest lesson learned from your own journey?
That I am my worst enemy. You know how many times I told myself, what is wrong with you? Do you know what I tell myself now? What is strong with you? I say all the time, other people give us pain. We give ourselves suffering. I'm going to tell you something. Nobody in the history of mankind, humankind, womankind, whatever, nobody in the history of mankind ever died from a snake bite. Nobody, ever. What people die from is that when they get bit by a snake, that venom goes into their veins, and when it reaches their heart, it stops their heart, and then they die. People are going to bite us. People are going to bite us. It's our job not to let their venom get into our veins and go to our heart, which is why I say, when you find out you are betrayed, because I'm just going to bring that up because that's the field I'm in. When you discover there was a fracture, a rupture, a betrayal in your relationships, the concrete started to set. So you got the mixture of concrete and it started to set. What you tell yourself in those first critical moments is what is going to be in your head. If you tell yourself, I will not own any of this. This had nothing to do with me. This was her problem. This was his problem. These were her insecurities, I won't own any of this. Because I'm going to tell you something. One of the first things we love to do when we're betrayed is we start to question ourselves. Well, was my butt too big? Was my breath smelly? Was I not lovable? Did I not serve them good enough? Was sex not good enough? Oh, stop that with the quickness. What we need to do is say, they made decisions from their own unhealed wounds. I won't own any of this. Because once that concrete solidifies, that's what's in our head. And I'm telling you something, a lot of our trauma stems and comes from the lies that we told ourselves. And we love to tell ourselves lies. Oh, he or she did this because I'm not worthy. He or she did this because I'm ugly. He or she did this because I'm whatever. You got to, be very. So the lesson that I learned is that you have to be intentional with what you tell yourself. I never ask myself, what's wrong with me? I always say, what's strong with me? I never say, oh my God, I'm such a fool. How could I be so stupid? You know what I say? Wow, I'm an imperfect human being, uniquely, lovingly creative, and I'm learning as I go. The message, listen, out of everybody's voice in the world, you're going to believe your own the most. You got to treat yourself like you are taking care of your child. And you're taking care of your inner child. So treat yourself like the young king and queen that you are. Talk to yourself in nothing but the best loving ways in terms. Forgive yourself. I went in the beginning of this episode. I talked about define forgiveness. Forgive yourself. Be patient with yourself. Be compassionate with yourself. Be understanding with yourself. Out of the trillions and trillions and trillions of possibilities that happen when we're biologically created, you came out of the womb. You're a gift. We all come into this world as a present. We have to unwrap that present, find out what gift we have, and then the ultimate gift is learning how we can share that gift with others, which I believe I'm doing. That's my purpose in life right now, doing what I'm doing.
Well, Mr. J, what would your final message be for everybody today? And if you could just spell out your website for all the audio listeners so they can reach out to you.
Awesome. My website's mrjrelationshipcoach.com. And if nobody ever wants to hear from me, see me, nothing, I do have some free resources. So just come on my website, mrjrelationshipcoach.com, and take advantage of some of my free resources. You know, one of the things I want to say is this. If you come to my website, you're going to read that, you know, listen, in my opinion, we're all tall, broken children. But if nobody's ever heard of the term kintsugi, it's a Japanese art where when something breaks, they put it together with gold glue. And that's because there's beauty in our brokenness. There's lessons in our brokenness. And I want people to know that even broken crayons can still create beautiful masterpieces. And we can be broken, but still create the most beautiful lives. And if you are a couple on this tough journey to heal after broken trust, I just want to let you know, you may have lost your happily ever after, but with a lot of time and work, you most certainly can have your happily even after.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. J. I really want to thank you for coming on Teatime. I could talk to you all day. Like, we could get into a lot of different things. I can talk all day. Well, we're just going to do a wrap up of what today's tea time is, and we'll be back at 7 p.m. and we'll have another tea time here. So what an honest and meaningful conversation. Mr. J, thank you for bringing vulnerability, wisdom, and compassion to the tea time table today. Conversations about betrayal, hurt, and emotional healing are not always easy, yet they are necessary because so many people silently carry pain they do not know how to speak about. Today reminded us that healing is not a linear. Trust is not rebuilt overnight, and strength is not the absence of pain. It is the willingness to face it honestly. You shared something powerful today. Transformation begins when we stop avoiding what hurts us and start understanding how it shapes us. Whether someone is healing from betrayal, emotional wounds, relationship struggles, or disappointments within themselves, today's conversation offered an important reminder. You are still worthy of love, connection, peace, and growth. Here are some food for thoughts to leave with everyone this afternoon. What if healing is not about becoming who you were before the pain, but becoming someone who understands their worth even more deeply because of it? Thank you, Mr. J, for helping people move from tears to transformation and for reminding listeners that healing begins with honesty, self-awareness, and grace. Until our next time, take care of your heart, protect your peace, and keep serving real-life tea, one story at a time. And I'll see everybody at 7 p.m.
Thank you.